Okay, the format of tonight's meeting is to have a guest speaker share their experience, strength and hope on how the Alcoholics Anonymous program of recovery is working in their lives for 15 to 20 minutes. Tonight we have asked Matt B to share.
Thanks very much. Still keeping an eye on the time, will you?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, Matt, alcoholic.
Hi, mate.
Welcome to the newcomers. Great to see some back from last week. I guess I call myself an alcoholic because when I start drinking, I can't guarantee my behaviour, and I never knew that was what defined an alcoholic when I first came around. I thought you had to have lost all your money, or lost your family, or lost your girlfriend, or lost your wife, or crashed your car, lost your job. Failed university, kicked out of school, all those sorts of things. But what I was told was, it's not so much how much you drank, or who you drank with, where you drank, or when you drank it, but what happened when you drank. And that was my first meeting of AA. I've been coming ever since. And I guess I'll start at the start. I had my first drink when I was 13, and I loved the effect. And the sky didn't fall in, or I didn't. I was 13. I was in year 7. I didn't get thrown out of school, or my parents were a little bit disappointed. But life kept rolling along, and it did so for until I got to AA 9 years later. And in between that time, I achieved a lot, and I finished school, and I went to university, and I got a job. And for those reasons, I didn't think that I was an alcoholic, and I never thought that I had a problem with alcohol. We were sitting in the book study before, and I never envisaged having a life where I didn't drink. I didn't think it was possible. I thought that you'd have no fun, you'd never go out. How would you ever hang out with your mates? How would you ever travel overseas? The thing was, I thought that you had to drink to travel overseas. Yet I'd never travelled overseas with my mates, because none of them would go with me because I was such a liability. Anyway, I drank all the way through. I finished school, and I went to a very strict school, and I had a very strict upbringing. And my parents didn't let me drink at all. So I used to go around to my mates' houses and stay over there, and we'd sneak out, and his parents didn't care where he was, or what time he got home. So I finished school and went to university, and when I could start drinking on my own, things got my drinking got worse, and I was a binge drinker. I was a shocking blackout drinker. Basically, every time I drank, I blacked out, and I thought that was normal. And when I told my friends, I couldn't remember, or I don't think I did that, or they thought I was playing games or lying, and I thought that everybody blacked out. I just thought that that's what happened when you drank. When you drank 15 or 20 beers, that was normal. And when I came in here, I found out that blackout drinking wasn't normal. That was abnormal drinking, and people started to pull me up on my drinking when I was at university, and people would have a go at me, and I'd say, well, how many subjects have you passed this semester, or what sort of job do you have, or I'd be quick to try and point out flaws in what they were doing to try and stop them having a go at me, and eventually I finished school and got a job, and after a year in that job, I'd nearly lost it. Not through poor performance, but bad behaviour. And I used to, it was the way I spoke to people, and I had no idea. I was the last one to know that I was going to lose my job, and in the end, I had a bad accident, and it sort of brought everything to the surface. I was 22. And I had to take a week off work, and a colleague of mine, after I was in hospital and after I got out, he asked me, this is about a month down the track, how I was going with my drinking. And I thought, what business was it of his? Because I'd hurt myself when I was totally pissed, blackout, walked off the edge of a retaining wall, and he asked me how I was going with my drinking, and I lied to him and said everything was fine, and it wasn't. I'd just come off a 5-day bender, and he totally ignored me and told me his story. And he used to say that he was afraid of going down to the pub the following day because he wasn't sure what he'd done, and I identified straight away. And he took me to my first meeting, and that was 4.5 years ago, and I've been coming ever since. So I guess my story's not all that much different. I was a binge drinker. I didn't drink every day, and I thought that was part of the reason why I wasn't an alcoholic, or I didn't need to go to AA. I thought that you had to be a daily drinker, and you had to have lost all those things that I said before. But you don't have to have lost everything to get here, and it's not how much you drink, and it's not a competition of who's drunk more and where they've drunk it. It's about how it makes you feel and what happens when you drink. And it's not my experience that my best day, my worst day sober was better than my best day drunk. I had a lot of fun when I drank, and but in the end, I couldn't guarantee my behaviour when I put alcohol in my mouth. That was the bottom line, and it made me antisocial and aggressive, and I'd wake up the following day with that absolute horror of wondering what I'd done, and trying to piece the night together with phone calls and text messages, and ringing people up and asking them questions that you pretended you knew the answer to when I didn't. Anyway, I came to AA, and the bloke who brought me in, I was feeling a bit better by this stage, and I said, surely no one gets sober at in my age. There's no one that you couldn't get sober at 22. Everyone's got a drink, blah blah blah. He said, well, my wife got sober at 21, so I think you should come along and have a look. And I went to Way of Life on a Tuesday night, and there were a couple of people there that were even younger than me, and I was blown away. So I started coming to AA on a regular basis, but I'm certainly not a model AA student. It took me a couple of years to start doing the program, and in earnest. I did a few bits and pieces. I started the steps here and stopped them there, and started them here and stopped them there. I was sort of in and out, and in the end, I got to a position, 3 years sober, where I was worse than I was when I came in. And, I felt terrible. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to hang out with my friends. I was physically sober, but I'd done nothing about, all of the wreckage in my life up to that point. And I went up to a member, and I said, look, you've got to help me. I need to go through the steps. And I had a bit of a reputation for starting them and never finish them. I've been through 3 sponsors, and he sort of said, well, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. You do it my way. And I said, yeah, sure. Let's do it. And there was one reason why I didn't want to do the steps, and that was that I wasn't making amends to 2 people that were on the top of my list, and I just delayed it and delayed it. I was happy to sort of write down a list of my defects and tell someone about it. That was no problem for me, but saying sorry was just something that was very foreign to me, and I ended up doing those amends, and the bottom line is for me is that I make things out to be a lot bigger in my head than they ever are in reality. And these people that I had to say sorry to me sort of said, I don't know what you've been worrying about. And that's sort of 3.5 years of my life. I've been sort of replaying that on a daily basis, and it was tiring, and I got a lot of freedom from saying sorry to people, and that was where the real benefit in the steps was for me. Going out to people and making amends, and the ones that I didn't want to do, they were probably the most rewarding. And the idea was to try and get to a position where I wouldn't have to cross the street for anyone. And I'm close to that. I'm certainly not there, but I'm certainly a lot closer to that than I was when I first walked in here. And because I didn't do the steps for 3 years, a few of my amends were from people while I was sober. My behaviour is sometimes just as bad sober as it is when I'm drunk, and that's why I continue to come to AA. And you hear the saying around that you come for the drinking and you stay for the thinking. That is really, that's my experience. That if I come here on a regular basis and speak to a sponsor and stay plugged into AA, I generally run okay. But if I choose to not speak to people and not go to meetings, I definitely feel it. And this is my home group. I'm here every week. I'm doing the book study at the moment. It's the first, and I'm a couple of years sober and I've never done a book study before. So it's the first one that I'm sitting through and attending each week, and that's something that I've made a point of doing. This meeting's probably been one of the cornerstones of my sobriety. It's changed the. It was about the same time that I started doing the steps that I started coming here on a regular basis. And it's no big deal to miss a meeting. You miss your home group sort of once every now and then. But I try to make a point to be here every week unless I'm out of town. I've changed over the last couple of years. I really think that I have changed, and for a long time there I didn't change. And call it a spiritual experience or a blinding flash of light. For me, it was very slow and painful change. I chose not to do the things that were suggested to me over and over and over and over again. For 3 years, I said, no, I won't do it, it won't help. How will saying sorry help me stay sober? It won't help. And it helped. Even in the, and I heard at the other men's meeting at the deal that, if you don't change, you don't stay. And I was getting to that point where I hadn't changed and I was about to leave. And I wasn't going to leave because I was enjoying it here. I hated coming to AA because I didn't do the suggested things. I wouldn't get up in meetings. I wouldn't share because I hadn't done the steps. I felt like an imposter in AA. So again, all made up in my head. I thought that people were looking at me because I hadn't done the steps. No one even cared. No one cares about what I'm doing. They're too busy caring about what they're doing. AA's tried to. AA has given me the possibility to live my life the way I want to do it, and it certainly hasn't given me everything I wanted in my life, but it has given me the opportunity to do the things that I wanted to do. And I can tell you that if I didn't have AA, I would have ruined the business relationship I'm in the first 6 months by cracking the shits and firing off that email that should have stayed in the drafts folder overnight. Because when I act on my first thought, it's generally dangerous. And today I'm not as bad at firing off or lashing out when somebody says something or I hear something for the first time. I generally try and take a deep breath. I don't always, but I generally try and take a deep breath and think about what I'm going to say. And that is wholly and solely because of AA, because I'm not like that in my nature. AA has given me a whole new perspective on life, but for anybody who's new, I'm not going to stand up here and say that it's been really easy. It's been really tough for me, but I can say don't try it my way because it's even tougher. I mean, if I had done, you know, what I was told to do in my first year, I mean, who knows? But yeah, it probably would have been a bit easier for me. But look, today I'm relatively happy. I'm not, you know, I don't sort of leap out of bed every morning and, you know, say, oh, you know, thank God for, you know, waking me up at 5 o'clock and I'm really tired and blah blah blah. Like, I'm not like that. It is sometimes a real struggle for me. And some days it's just a matter of getting out of bed, putting 2 feet on the ground and traipsing through, and then getting to bed at night. I don't. Not every day is fantastic, but my life is unrecognisable from what it was when I walked in here, and I am, you know, I'm able to do all the things I want to do in sobriety. You know, when I first, just before I came in here, you know, I had that accident, and that accident stopped me from travelling overseas and with my friends, and you know, they said, oh, you know, I heard it round that they'd said, oh, you know, we're lucky that Matt's not going because he just would have been an absolute liability to take overseas. I was going to South America, and I was going there to write myself off for 6 weeks. And, you know, I've been in sobriety, I've been able to travel, I've travelled overseas, you know, I've travelled with other people in AA. It's the steps. They're at it again. Yeah, I've travelled with other people in AA, and AA's really become a part of my life. Some of my best friends are in AA, and you know, I love going out to meals with them. I don't always want to come down to a meeting, but I can probably solemnly swear that I have never walked out of an AA meeting feeling worse than how I walked in, ever. So, you know, sometimes I don't want to come down here, but you know, I just sort of, I just make sure I try and get to a couple of meetings a week, speak to my sponsor, catch up with another couple of AA members, and keep it worked into your life. Because, you know, you know, for a while I fought it, but if it just becomes a part of your life on a day-to-day basis, it's no big deal. Whereas before it was always a struggle to go to a meeting or call someone, or so. Look, I don't have a lot more to say than that. I'd just like to, yeah, thanks Dean and the group for asking me to share, and you know, I'm a happy AA member. I'll leave it at that. Thanks very much.